Welcome to the markets picture. Well, shares in Hong Kong continued their rebound today after a two-day slump that began earlier this week. Broader mainland Asian shares happened to rise, and this is on the back of the Fed announcing that it'll be keeping its benchmark interest rate near zero. Looking at what's happening on the Hang Seng side, that index closing up 3.3%. Looking at mainland Chinese stocks, they also saw strong gains in the trading day, and the Nikkei advancing 0.7% higher. Looking at what's happening on the European side, those markets happen to rise as investors at this particular point are digesting a host of corporate earnings from the likes of Credit Suisse and VW. When we look at what's happening on the U.S. future side of things, everybody digesting those FOMC minutes. But to talk to us about how all of this is playing out in our local markets and the Rand, we are joined by Makwe Masilela from Makwe Fund Managers. Makwe, thank you so much for your time. Let's have a check-in on the JSE and the Rand following comments from the FOMC minutes yesterday.
Good afternoon to you and to the viewers. Yes, the market, as you said in your intro, you are also digesting those comments coming out of the U.S. Federal Reserve, and also the fact that they've downplayed the risk when it comes to the Delta variant, that is not going to have a serious impact when it comes to the economic growth. And for them to say, listen, the economic recovery is there, though we're not yet at the point where we have to start, moving when it comes to interest rates. That itself helped to also help the likes of commodities, because we can see that the economy is growing. And also now, the minute you hear the U.S. not talking about tapering, then the dollar tends to weaken. Hence, we see the rand strengthening. And with a weaker dollar, it also makes commodity prices attractive, because holders of other currencies are able to afford that. And maybe it's not surprising to see that the peg back home here on the local pause is being led by resources. And with Hong Kong bouncing back, we know that that benefited the likes of our NASPAs and Process, and hence industrials as well. That are lifting our local market.
All right, so today we had the numbers on the sense perspective from the likes of AB InBev, we had ArcelorMittal. Which of the two did you have a chance to look at?
Both of them, and I think ArcelorMittal, it was impressive. This is a company we know that has been struggling, but we've seen that the guys have just managed to turn the corner. They've turned back into profits. And also because we know that when you look at what they call the international prices, when it comes to in dollar terms, the steel prices, they're increased by almost 79%, and in rand terms up by almost 42%. Guys also managed to increase their volumes by almost 10%. I guess that's impressive. And also, what's more important, you look at the raw material basket, they've managed to contain that increase to at least 2%, and you compare that with the international increase when it comes to the raw material basket, they increased by almost 44% in rand terms. And yes, the guys, I think going forward, they should be able to do well, because the global economy is starting to recover, and back home here, we know that we expect our economy to grow by at least 4.5%. That itself should tell us, Nastasia, that there's still demand will continue to be in existence.
Right, from an U.S. earnings perspective, we have some of the biggest tech companies reporting. What did you make of Facebook's numbers that came out yesterday?
Very impressive, these are the best numbers we have ever seen, for the quarter, since 2016. They've managed to beat all the estimates. But the problem here, and that is why maybe we've seen Facebook going down by almost 5%, is that they don't expect that going forward, things should be okay like they've reported in the second quarter. They expect some form of slowing down. And we know that the regulators, whether it's in the US or in the European Union, they are on their case, accordingly to say, guys, you've been anti-competitive at some point, so that as well is going to dent the company earnings going forward, should the guys lose the cases. But yes, generally it was not a bad reporting for the quarter, because all fronts, even if you look at the average revenue per user increased, even if it looks at the subscriber numbers, and also bearing in mind that the likes of the US and Canada, that's where the guys make most of their money, because the average revenue per user in those two parts of the world are much higher than in other parts of the world.
All right, so yesterday we had our market watcher tell us which of the FANGs have a really great chart. Michael Traherne from Vestec Asset Management saying that he likes the way Netflix looks, in particular from a chart perspective. Do you agree with that view, or is there another one of those that you're looking at?
To some extent, it's looking okay, given that people were under lockdowns, people have been downloading, streaming as much as they can. But I think I'll go with the likes of Amazon, because whether we get over and done with the COVID, whether we get back to normality when it comes to the issues of the lockdowns, the restrictions, I think the likes of Amazon will continue to do well. And remember, this is a company that is started as a bookseller, but they're almost doing everything, from wholesaling, from your web services, your phones, every little thing that you might think of. So I think Amazon for me looks much better, and going forward, especially when we expect things to go back to normal, the likes of Amazon should continue to benefit.
All right, Makwe, thank you so much for your time. That is Makwe Masilela from Makwe Fund Managers giving us his take on the trading activity so far. Of course, we'll keep you updated as the week wraps up tomorrow. For now, I'm going to throw over to Mbongeni Mutwa, who has the labor force